Welcome back. Today on this live stream, we have Susanth coming in from New Zealand. We have Eshant from Phoenix, USA, Vinay
Mm.
from Sweden, and I'm right now from the Cyber City, Hyderabad. Glad to have all of you in here.
Thank you. Thank you
Thank
for
you.
inviting us.
Thank you, Ranga.
Uh,
Thank you, Vinay, for coordinating this.
Thanks. Thank you.
AZ-900 is one of the most popular certifications in Azure. Maybe also, I can say, maybe one of the most popular cloud certifications to do. How many of us have AZ-900 certification? I have.
I have.
Okay.
I do too.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, obviously the topic today we are going to talk about is AZ-900. And over to you, Vinay.
Yeah, so hello and warm welcome. As Ranga mentioned, today we'll be discussing about AZ-900. I think a certification which is like a stepping stone in the cloud journey. Any person who is willing to start his cloud journey should definitely start with AZ-900. But that was my opinion. Let's ask our experts here. Was I correct when I made that statement that AZ-900 should be the starting point of cloud journey?
Yeah, I feel absolutely actually, both for technical or non-technical, if you're coming from business background, any managerial background or leadership background. So basically the point is that if you are entering to the cloud, which you have to today or tomorrow, there's no exception for that. There's no other way now, moving to the cloud. Um, if you want to understand what exactly is cloud, what are the basics, what are the fundamental services, what are the basic services, what are the building blocks, and this is common for everyone, right? So again, we'll discuss more when we move forward in the discussion, but yes, AZ-900, as you said, is probably the best way to get enter into the cloud, Azure cloud. Yeah.
Yep,
Susan?
I totally agree with what Ishant was mentioned. So, one other thing what I'm seeing in organizations is anybody who is to do anything remotely with cloud technology, be it technical, non-technical people, like Ishant mentioned, AZ-900 is slowly becoming as the de facto or the standard certification everybody have to take. Even if you are a manager, you're not involved in any day-to-day operation, but to understand the regular conversation, understand something about what other people are talking about when they say about IaaS, PaaS, or SaaS. They need to know about what are they talking about. So AZ-900 gives them all of these fundamental knowledge or concepts they can keep on for their day-to-day business operations. So yes, it is one of the very relevant and one of the most popular certification going around in the market at the moment.
Absolutely. I
I would
agree with
say,
Ishant and Sushant there. Ishant, please go ahead.
Yeah.
no, please go ahead, after you.
Okay, so I agree with Ishant and Sushant when they say it's one of the most popular cloud certifications today, right? So, I think irrespective, I think somebody can choose this certification based on their knowledge. If they have no knowledge about the cloud and if they want to understand the cloud fundamentals, irrespective of what role they are performing, I think this is the certification. The only set of people who I might not advise this for is for somebody who's already working with a specific cloud for a long time. Probably they can
Mhm.
skip this certification and get into something else. But if you have no experience with the cloud, if you have been a data center guy all the way, or if you are in a managerial role, or if you are doing testing, like any other roles, any non-technical roles, and any technical roles who don't have any interaction with the cloud at all, AZ-900 would be probably one of the best places to start their cloud journeys.
100%.
I was just saying that it is as important as we can make it mandatory in the college level that you have to choose between either AZ-900 or AWS practitioner or Google. I don't know what is we call Google Fundamental
It's called the
exam,
cloud digital leader.
Cloud digital.
Cloud
Yeah.
Digital Leader. Yes, so you can choose one of these as a mandatory, subject in your college. I mean, it can be that important. That's what I was just trying to mention.
Yeah, I
Absolutely. I
think,
think
yeah.
I
Yeah.
love the Vinay. Please go ahead.
Yeah, I was just saying that I think it gives an overall picture of the cloud services that they provide, and probably it takes out how it takes out the headache of the big enterprise by maintaining various data centers or of providing infrastructure for application to run. I mean, speeding up of additional resources in no time. These are some of the big things that cloud provides, and everybody should be. I mean, if you're in the IT world, everybody should be curious that how it happens and how cloud helps in resolving those things. So that was my
Absolutely.
point, that yeah.
Absolutely, Vinay. I think it's
Yeah,
a very very nice starting point to understand the fundamentals of cloud, right? When you get to the cloud, like things like infrastructure as service,
mm,
platform as a service, serverless, like these are
yeah,
concepts with a lot of us struggle with when you're new to the
yes.
cloud. And yeah, I think that certification is not only a paper which is really good, but also gives you knowledge to make the best use of some of the things that cloud provides.
Yeah, exactly. As you mentioned, Ranga, serverless. So I remember when I was going through this, when I was trying to record and I was going through the notes I prepared for AZ-900, I could see that serverless, I have made question mark, because in my data warehousing world, I don't know what serverless is, how to, why we have to deploy this application and how to deploy the application. If it is, there is no server, how this application will run. Then I understood that, okay, cloud provides a platform that, okay, you can run your application and just forget about rest of the things. Cloud will take care of everything. So that is something that is new that I learned during this certification. So yeah, it widens your horizon as well, thinking horizon. So
Absolutely.
moving on, probably as all of the three experts covered that this is basically for all the guys in the IT, whether you are managerial or you have technical background or non-technical background. But if you are in IT and moving towards cloud, then this certification will lay out a strong foundation. So I just want to touch upon the learning areas of AZ-900 that we have, like. Uh, what are the skills this exam is looking for, or what are the skills that we should have in order to appear for this exam? So yeah.
So mainly for AZ-900, there are primarily four modules, is what I know of, and now recently Microsoft added two more to
Yeah.
include few more other services. The first module is all around generic cloud fundamentals, so you can relate that to AWS, GCP, or Ali Cloud or whatever, because Microsoft don't go in depth related to what they offer. And after the first module, they slowly build up into introducing all the students about Microsoft services, which include how many data centers they have, what is region, what is availability. So they talks about these data center concept, how do they make sure that it is highly reliable, highly available, things like that. So anybody who is having some sort of a server background or understanding about IT, they might find it a little easier. Other people who never had any exposure into IT, they might struggle there a little bit to relate to these concepts about availability, reliability, scalability, things like that. So they might take some extra time grasping these topics. Then Microsoft jump right into Azure services. That's where Microsoft introduces plenty of Azure services, like what is Azure Blob, Azure Storage, Azure Virtual Machine, Azure VM Scale Set, Azure Cosmos DB. But again, because it's a fundamental certification, Microsoft stop at a point where they introduce the concept and tell the student that, okay, these are the value add, so they need to remember where it is applicable. That's about it. They don't have to learn about how to implement it, they don't have to learn about how to configure it. If they do want to learn about it, there are other certifications they can jump onto it. Then the third and fourth module, what I remember, is about privacy and compliance and security. So how does Microsoft safeguard their data? How do Microsoft make sure that the customer data is secure? What are the responsibility for the customer? So when you come to the cloud, something what everybody have to realize or understand is shared responsibility model. Who takes care of what? So that is something, a very important topic for everyone to understand and relate to. And finally, they finish off with understanding pricing. When it comes to the cloud, everything is volatile, everything changes fast. So to understand what is pricing calculator, to understand what is TCO calculator, is very important for any sales professionals to pitch these solutions to any customer. So these are the learning objective.
Absolutely. I think if I have to summarize, it's basically you need to know about the Azure services well, and you need to know what are the benefits of the cloud, and you'd also need to know like the most important differences from cloud to data center, right? How pricing works, the importance of security and networking, and the concepts on how you can organize resources in Azure.
True.
So those are kind of the most important things that the exam focuses on. As Sushant mentioned, it's about the specific use cases of the service, but not about the technical details of how a specific service is used.
One thing I feel that actually Azure has, we know, more than 200 services. And I think in certification, we can have somewhere around 40 to 50 services which Microsoft introduced. So basically, again, the idea is that what exactly is service? And most of the questions, if you see in the exam, that Microsoft will give you very small scenario of 1 or 2 line and will pick you that which service do you think that will fulfill this requirement, right? So
Hmm.
all you need to know is what this service is used for. And most of the time, even the options they give are not very close also. They are completely different services. So even if you know a very vague idea, somewhere you read this in the networking section, and then you can figure out, okay, this was the service, right? Because it's easy exam. I mean, 900 is a fundamental exam, but still, suddenly listening about 50 services, and for each service what it does, what are the advantage, disadvantage, and a little bit more about the service, it's difficult to grasp. I mean, it's easy, but at the same time there's a lot to remember actually. If
Hmm.
you see carefully, there's, I mean, if someone is familiar with the Azure, is been working in Azure, for him it could be easy. But someone is suddenly coming into Azure and suddenly listening 50 name, different names and
Absolutely.
functionality and the definition, sometimes it's may become a little too much. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
True.
Yeah, but when I saw the skills outline, when we see it on the Microsoft page, that the skills outline describes the keyword there probably that I could see when I was preparing was describe. So they say that describe cloud concepts and stuff. So I think there are no verbs like manage, implement, design.
Hmm.
So we very well understand that, okay, this will be, I mean, something very fundamental. They will be testing not on the technical depth but probably on the understanding of various services that, okay, this exists in Azure that can cater to various needs and demands of programmers, for other peoples out there. So that's the basic thing, that they will not go in technical depth probably. So yeah, that's a good point to understand, and that probably that will help in understanding the learning areas. So
Another
yeah,
very
yeah,
very quick another point that I think we were discussing about the new people who are coming from the non-technical background, and sometimes it may be struggling for them, as Sushant rightly mentioned, if someone doesn't know what exactly serverless, what exactly server itself, yes, or some very basic understanding of networking, or even coming maybe from non-science background, he may not know what exactly CPU, what is RAM, what is
Yeah.
memory, and how they work together, why
True.
we should have. So for them, I think, I'm not sure if there is any such course exists to cover those people, and it's difficult also. If you try to explain each and everything, then it will become irrelevant for those people who are coming from science or computer background, right? So somewhere you have to draw the line, about the audience. So um, I think Ranga mentioned some time back that he tried to cover as much as possible, but still he has to draw the line somewhere, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's
yeah.
about how we structure the course, Dishant. Like what I
Mhm.
try to do is to stay away from the exam objectives as much as possible and try to think about, okay, what is the basic knowledge that somebody has? And like I feel that gives me the freedom. Like I set a bar as to the minimum knowledge level somebody has to have to do that course, and my bar is little lower than what Azure sets it at. So I
Mhm.
kind of try and cover all those aspects which are in between, as well as to take them to a level where they would be able to clear the AZ-900. But as you say, it's a tight rope to walk, because I mean, what's the level? Deciding that is a very, very tough thing. Sometimes I even take a couple of days, 3, 4 days to decide what that bar should be and what thought process should I have to build the course. And separating, like the thing is, like tying ourselves to exam objectives somehow makes it difficult, because if you look at the Azure AZ-900 exam objectives, the first section has some of the difficult concepts to learn, right? So that's why I kind of separate myself away from the objectives. I kind of design the course in my own way, understanding the objectives and ensure that all the exam objectives are met. Another big advantage I see is because Azure keeps changing these exam objectives every once in a while.
Yeah.
So
Every two
tying to
years.
them, yeah, tying to them would make it difficult over a period of time to even manage the course. So
True.
yeah, but I guess, I mean, there is no one right way. It's about like, I think for all of us, I think as content creators, whenever we create content, we think of, okay, what is the level at which somebody should be to take the course, and that would be the starting point.
Right. So can I add one more point to this?
Please.
I also mention to somebody who is brand new to this whole cloud or IT world is I tell them it is actually sometimes blessing also, because imagine the world where like 10 years back or 8 years back somebody have to get into a technology, they have to have very foundational knowledge about so many concepts and things like that. Now most of it is irrelevant. So now there is no silos, like there is no one network engineer or
Absolutely.
networking team or like a storage team. Now everybody have to do everything, or everybody is putting some hand into every other technology. So it's kind of blessing as well. So you put a little bit of effort in learning this cloud technology and you can forget about all the complexities we had in the past with all the on-prem technologies. So
Absolutely. I think we are moving from a specialized world to a T-shaped skill world, right?
true.
Earlier, it was important to be really specialized at something and not worry about rest of the stuff. But
Right.
now it's the breadth of the knowledge and like maybe a little bit of depth in the area where you are really, really good at. So it's
100%.
like we are moving towards kind of a T-shaped world, I would say. Like
Yeah.
we say that frequently when we talk about DevOps and things,
Yeah.
but I guess that's where the industry is heading in general.
Right.
Yes, because many big enterprise has started utilizing agile as their concept of moving forward. Then probably the most important concept in agile is probably the T shape that, as Ranga mentioned. Yeah, so that was my next question as well. That how to prepare for AZ-900. That is the starting point. Uh, like definitely some people ask me, and in one of the videos that we shared on the YouTube, and there was one person who stated that it is when we start preparing for this AZ-900 certification, it's like reading a product manual, and it's very difficult to keep one's motivation level up always. So that probably was a question that struck in my mind as well, because it's very hard to start. Just wanted to understand how to start.
Actually, now I think we have so many different courses on AZ-900. Even if you see on YouTube, there are many free courses also. I mean, Sushant himself has a very good free course, and I think recently John Seville, he released a free course on 900 AZ-900. There's another guy, Mark, I think.
Adam.
Adam,
Adam.
Adam, he also has a very good course,
Yes.
and there's one more guy, Tim,
Yeah, Tim.
Tim Warner, I think. He also has a free course, and Microsoft Document also is pretty good. But again, the Microsoft Document sometimes lacking those exercise, those demos, if you're looking for. Now, when we come into the paid courses, Ranga has a very good course on that. He has a lot of demos, and he explained very well. We know that the way he explained, taking from very step one step, step by step approach he takes. So I don't think there's a lack of content at this point of time. um, I personally feel that I mean, again, what is your goal? If you're coming from non-technical background, or if you just want to be aware what exactly is Azure, and so that you can just participate in the conversation, that's a different goal. But if you
Mhm.
are technically want to move to the cloud, then I would say that just go with the demos. Just try to go a little bit in more depth to understand what it is, instead of just reading the definition and just make it boring. I mean, make it useful, make it happening, make it exciting by doing all the demos. Now you don't have to have now you don't have to create kind of infrastructure to try something. For example, I wanted to learn Hadoop once, I remember that, but the biggest struggle was how to do that and how to create all this infrastructure long, I mean, couple of years back. But now you can do that, right? So I mean, in last discussion also we had the similar discussion. Now everything, you have everything, you have the content, you have the portal. All you need is just time and hard work, and you can do that. Yeah.
Absolutely. Like one of the like biggest things of this today's world is that we have so much information out there, right? I mean, like Microsoft Learn, videos on YouTube, courses. Ishant only mentioned one course of mine, but actually there are other good courses on Udemy as well. So there is tons of choice as to where you can learn from. I think the most important thing for any learner is to figure out what works for them, right?
Mm.
I mean, I might be somebody who reads a lot of books, so I like learning from books. But like we are entering into a world, into a technology world. I mean, cloud is just the starting point, I would say, right? So we are actually getting into a world where your learning is what differentiates you. How much breadth of knowledge you have is what is going to determine how high you would reach. And therefore it's very, very important to work out what learning methodology in general works out for you, right? So whether it's learning books, watching videos, or a specific instructor, right? It's about finding out what works for you, where you can learn from, what's at the level that you are. And the only way you can find it out is by experimenting. Maybe watch a video for half an hour, watch another video for half an hour, try and figure out what works for you. I think that's the most important thing that we need to figure out. Does videos work for you? Does courses work for you? Does what? And also, like, a lot of people actually look at like how much it is taking to purchase a course, right? That's not the important factor. The amount of time people invest of their own, right? So if, let's say, I'm investing 1,000 rupees, or and let's say it takes 50 hours to invest on a specific course, right? 50 hours is much more important. The 1,000 rupees is not the important part.
Mhm.
So yeah, what is the place where they get the most value for their uh, time? I think that's what people need to focus on. So what works for them, what is the place they get the most value of? And it's not something that is same for everybody. Something might work for me which might not be working for Ishant and Sushant and Vinay. So it's about individual working out what they want, what works for them.
Right. And Vinay, I was just playing that question, what that particular person asked to you about that boring component.
Mm, mm,
I felt many a times, because if you are entering a brand new topic, and if I am just totally new to anything, after some time, you get definitely bored. You feel like it's very monotonous. You're not relating to any of the things what the person is telling or they are teaching. So the idea would be to take it slow and be consistent at learning. So
Absolutely.
nobody can like crack the whole cloud world or whatever you're learning in one day or 1 week. So make sure you identify a pattern, or like, or every day spend like half an hour. When you start, small and build it up. So first day don't go 2 hours, then second day half an hour. Just build it up, like spend 10 minutes, let it sink in your mind, let it feel you, so you naturally get into what they are talking, and so you feel like you're slowly getting in, you start enjoying it. If you try to learn everything in 1 or 2 days, you feel it very difficult and you might not enjoy it. You never look back into it ever again. So my recommendation would be start small and be have some consistent plan. There is something called 100 days of code or 100 days of clouds. So they have like very well laid out plans about how you can start slowly and build up your knowledge with some paths, things like that. So that is my recommendation.
Absolutely agree with you, Srishant. Actually, that's the fundamental thing which made me choose the name in 28 minutes. So I'm a great believer that somebody should learn half an hour every day. So
Mhm.
30 minutes every day, like, is the best way I found to work on something, new skill. Like, you'll not remember the skill after a long time if you are just cramming in a 1 day or 2 days.
Mhm.
Like, I
Mhm.
find that if you work consistently for half an hour every day, and that's where I was actually searching for a domain name in 30 minutes. I was not able to get it, and
mm.
yeah, in 28 minutes was the one which closest to that and represents that. Continuous learning is
Right.
something which differentiates how well you do, right? So yeah, absolutely wonderful point, Sushant.
And I was always wondering why in 28 minutes. So now I know it. I wanted to ask you why you
Okay.
specifically chose that. So that's a good segue into telling your history and your company history. That's wonderful.
Actually,
Absolutely.
everyone, I mean, whoever will listen 20 minutes, everyone first 20 minutes. Why 20?
Yeah,
Why
why
specifically
28
28?
minutes?
Yeah.
And this is
Unfortunately, I
how.
was not rich enough to buy in 30 minutes at that particular point in time.
No, it's a good in sense. Also, it's easy to remember. Also, because this is a little different than usual, right? So
Yeah.
anyway,
It's better than, actually, to be honest, 30 minutes, because there is a curiosity behind, like, everybody, when I saw it in 28 minutes, I was like, what is in 20? I couldn't figure it out. If it was 30, maybe I would have figured it out. Your courses are only 30 minutes, or like you only talk about whatever. Like
you
28
want us
is
to
like,
learn in 30 minutes or something.
yeah.
So probably the
Thank
domain
you.
name added to the popularity as well. Curiosity adds to popularity. Then, then probably one thing that that was difficult for me when I was preparing was probably to imagine stuff, because there's stuff like VNet to VNet peering that happens, and in my world it never happens. I mean, in day to day of my life, it never happens. The
True.
VNet we create, and so that's actually a question to all three of you experts: how to make sure that we understand the concept well enough that to appear in the exam, because a lot of stuff needs to be in the head. We read it and we have to imagine that okay, this happens, and We lose one particular link in that imagination, and it's gone all the way. So just to understand how you guys work out this thing.
It's not just happen, it's very easy also actually.
Yeah.
Actually,
Yeah.
if you see VNet to VNet pairing, how it hardly will take less than maybe 2 or 3 minutes, right? It's so easy. All you have to
Mm,
do is just make some small configuration change, just select network here and there, and just save it, and that's it. You are done. So
mm,
something, again, the same point, something which was not possible. I mean, I shouldn't say not possible, but was very difficult in our on-premises environment. Now in the cloud, you can see that how easy it is.
Yeah.
But again, the same point coming back, you don't have to remember. You can, I mean, VNet to VNet peering, for example, is such an easy thing. I mean, if you're talking about, let's say, dedicated host, this is something you still cannot do in the cloud. I mean, it requires a lot of money. It is for big organization. So you have to understand and grasp that concept. But something like VNet to VNet peering or these kind of some of these network concepts, you can actually try. You can go and you can try, and once you do it, you'll be able to remember that. Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah. And
one thing I want to add along with that is if we can find somebody who explain with a lot of whiteboarding, then these concepts will stick in your mind. Like I remember only John Saville who just
Yeah.
pick up his marker and just go to the board and he explain why and how the connection work. And sometimes that's stick. I don't have that expertise in explaining like that, but yeah, that is what I would recommend if you want to know why it is that,
absolutely.
what is it about, and you don't want to really do it, just watch somebody explaining in a whiteboard session.
Absolutely. I think the focus should be like before you introduce any concept, like as a instructor or somebody, it's on explaining why you need that concept, right? So before we talk about a network, a VNet, you need to explain why you need a VNet.
Mm,
So especially when we are explaining to non-tech people, I think if you are able to explain the use case first, right? It's about not the solution. The focus should not be like whenever I'm talking to a non-technical person, I would actually try and put it in their words, right? It's about explaining it in a terminology which they understand. Why do we have a VNet? Because you don't want everybody to get into the network, right? You don't
mhm,
want everybody to start having access to your computer. And
mhm,
when I have two such VNets, what would happen? I would have resources which are which are in two different VNets which cannot talk to each other, right? If you
mhm,
can actually put it in a way where you are thinking from the perspective of somebody who's learning from you, I think that helps a lot. Because the technology part is for me just how do I say it? It's just how Azure implements it, right? If you look at it, the same thing has a solution in AWS, Google Cloud. If you understand the concept, what it's trying to do,
mhm.
the technology part becomes much more easier.
True.
So yeah, that's another thing we would want to focus on. To try and understand like why something is there, you'll be able to figure out the technology.
yeah. So next question probably that I would like to touch base is probably the exam day or the tips or tricks that we have in place that you guys can uh, help the viewer with. So any tips and tricks, and what should be your exam day planned like? I mean, the day before and day on the exam. So yeah.
um Tips, so if they are brand new to Microsoft certification, definitely go and purchase some practice tests from a lot of people who create those content, so you get a feel of how these questions are going to come. Because if it is brand new, they are not they are in for like a shock, because it is time bound, it's a pressure cooker situation. Then these questions have different formats, things like that. But AZ-900, Microsoft went actually easy on it, because it's only one type of objective, like either multiple choice or like either you choose the answer or drag and drop. But just get a feel of the practice test, or purchase and use few practice tests is what I would recommend. That is one of my tip.
Absolutely. I
I
think
would
practice test is very, very important. Ishan,
Yeah.
go ahead.
No, just saying that since this exam is again focusing on what about this, I mean, what about this service, what it does, and how this is special and different from other services. So slides, I think, plays a very important role here, because in slides, whoever is creating a course, they cover this particular part. I mean, you don't have to know the demos. It's good to understand technology through demos, but still for the exam you need to know about that service, about that one line, one
Hmm.
keyword which you can associate with that service. So this is where slides plays important role. So some students told me that they take printouts of those slides, and they quickly go through before one night just to make sure they have those key points integrate with the name of the service so that they can remember that during the exam.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
I
think
created actually a cheat sheet of all the. So when I studied AWS CCP, because I was coming from the Azure world, to remember everything, so I used to write down the AWS service and write one liner. And just before the exam or the previous day, I was just going through that cheat sheet for like couple of times because okay, this is the service, this is what it does, this is the service, this
exactly.
is what it does. So to have that memory, so good point, Ishant.
Yeah, I think that's very, very important, right? I mean, there are so many services that you can get confused.
Hmm.
One resource I really found good. I mean, when I just learned one cloud, it was easy. When I started learning, add more and more clouds, it was becoming difficult. One resource I really found very, very useful was a Google Cloud comparison sheet between what are the services in AWS, Azure, and Google Cloud.
Oh,
It was really
nice.
a beautiful one, which
Yeah,
gives it like, okay, this is the use case, this is the
yeah.
service in AWS, this is the service in Azure and Google Cloud. And it was beautiful. Probably what we'll do is we'll put a link to it in the description of this video
Yeah,
Sure.
so that people
that's a
can
good.
refer to that. Yeah, it's a beautiful one. And I use it as a reference number of times, irrespective of the certification we go to. Right. I mean, like it's always like, even if you are going to an architect certification, a lot of times you are confused by the names of each of these services. And what I found was as I referred to that sheet, I have a printout of that. And as I referred to that sheet multiple times, it becomes ingrained into our
Hmm.
memory. And now it becomes easier. Like if somebody comes and asks me what are the Kubernetes services, I will be able to list down without battling an eyelid. So
Right.
yeah, it really helps because we are going to the cloud world, and remembering the services is very, very important. If
Hmm.
like in a multi-cloud world, as we go further, I think this would be really, really important.
Yeah. Especially if you are an architect or like a sales professional, remembering a lot of these services name is very important because you're always thinking about which service you're going to use, and there are so many overlapping services. So sometimes you want to create a optimized solution. So it's not about using exactly the same service. It's about like picking the right service also that comes.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So it's you have to be updated. So very good points.
Absolutely.
Maybe we can discuss about this when we discuss about the architect or the specialized
Absolutely.
certification. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that would be a lovely discussion to have, Sushant.
Yeah.
And this exam has, I mean, you'll get 1 minute for each question. And believe me, if you know about that question, it hardly will take you 10 seconds or so. So the time is not a kind of
Absolutely.
challenging part in this particular fundamental exam. I mean, you get, I think, 60 question, roughly 50 to 60 question, and you get 60 minutes. And if you know about services, you should be able to complete your exam in 30 minutes or so, little over than that.
Absolutely. I heard of few people completing it within a like
Yeah.
single digit minutes.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Wow.
it should be. I mean, if you know the stuff, it should like time is definitely not a
Yeah.
factor for this exam.
Yeah, and probably the one of the tips that I could see in the internet and that I related to when I appeared was probably uh, I just came out with this word, concept to word association. That like if it is a serverless written in the question, then probably you have to choose a service called logic app or function app. In
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
way, I could relate that thing that okay, this is the service for this thing. So, and if there is some data warehouse and data, then you have to look for words like data lake, Synapse Analytics, HD Insights. So that is how I divided and I made a big cheat sheet kind of a
Yeah.
thing. And
Cheat sheet. That is the
yeah,
word I was looking for.
Yeah, cheat sheet.
exactly, cheat sheet kind of a
Absolutely.
thing. And I remembered that way. And every morning, probably, yeah, I just used to look out, okay, these are the services and these are the things that, okay. So that helped. And
A-
automatically our mind captures actually these things. Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah.
And to add on, right? I mean,
Mm,
one of the biggest advantages I've found of doing the Azure 900 fundamental certification, right? Like few years back, if you want to learn technology, if you want to understand what are the important concepts, it's very, very difficult. But if you look at AZ-900 certification today, right, you get an overview of not only the cloud, but also you get an overview of the different aspects of technology, right?
Mhm.
Compute, storage, databases, like, and you get a high level perspective, like what are NoSQL databases, what are relational databases, what is a data warehouse, what is a data lake. I mean, this kind of knowledge, if I would want to get as a package a few years back, there was nothing like that there. Today, like a lot of people can actually use this, like one of the starting cloud certifications as a stepping stone into technology. like, because cloud is going to be here, right? I mean, all of us would agree that in 5 years cloud will be maybe 3 times 4 times bigger than what it is today.
Mm-hmm.
And so it is very important for somebody to understand the cloud and what you can do it, and all the technology, like whether you were talking about data engineering, machine learning, right, whatever you want, or IoT, we would see them running in the cloud. So cloud would become the fundamental place where most of the workloads, irrespective of what they are trying to do, would be running in a few years.
True.
So it's very like, it's a great starting point as well.
Ranga, I think we did not cover one point. I mean, the different ways to prepare for the exam is about the ebooks. I mean, I haven't read
Hmm.
any ebook, but I see that on Amazon there are some ebooks available for each certification. Did you ever get a chance to look at those ebooks, and do you have any comment on that?
No, Ishant, I have absolutely no idea. Sushant and Vinay, do you guys have any experience with ebooks?
No.
Okay.
No.
But I have a
No.
physical book. I read the official guide. It should be lying somewhere. Like, I read the physical Azure certification study guide, but I found it was very dry. I mean, I found, like, if somebody is a beginner and he's trying to read that, probably he'll not even make sense of it. It's
Mm.
good for somebody who's experienced, but somebody who's experienced probably would not be doing the AZ-900 exam anyway.
Yeah.
So that guide I did not like, the study guide, but I've not looked at any of the ebooks as such.
And I've never heard anyone saying on the LinkedIn that I cleared this exam because of this ebook. I mean,
Mhm.
they did mention, of course, the Microsoft Learn and different courses
Absolutely.
and different websites, but I don't remember anyone saying that I read this ebook and this is very helpful for me to clear this exam. I think it's difficult also to update the ebook and publish it again all the time. I don't know how these guys are doing. Somehow I never get a chance to go into it. But anyway, I just wanted to put that there's another way. If
Okay.
someone is very fond of just reading
Reading. Yeah.
and he don't understand things by reading, then there are ebooks also available
Absolutely.
on the Amazon for each of these certification.
So probably with that note, we come to the end of the video then. Uh, Thank you to all the viewers, and a big thank you to all the experts here. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
Vinay.
you.
Thank you, Ranga. Thank you,
Yes.
Ishant. See you
Thank
next
you.
time.
Thank you so much.
See you
Thank
next
you, everyone.
time. Bye
Yeah.
bye.
Bye.